Aristotle, the philosopher who shaped Western thought. The birth of a mind. In the year 384 BCE, in the small Greek town of Sagira in northern Macedonia, a child was born who would fundamentally alter the course of human thought for the next 2 millennia. His name was Aristotle, and his intellectual legacy would touch every corner of Western civilization, from science and politics to ethics and art. No single thinker has had a more profound or lasting impact on the development of Western philosophy, science, and education. Aristotle's father, Nicomachus, served as court physician to King Amyntas III of Macedon. This privileged position afforded young Aristotle exposure to both medical knowledge and the inner workings of political power from an early age. The scientific precision of medicine and the practical realities of governance would later become hallmarks of his philosophical approach. Growing up in a physician's household, Aristotle would have witnessed dissections, learned about anatomy and pharmacology, and absorbed the methodical, observational approach that characterized Greek medicine. This early exposure to empirical investigation would profoundly shape his later insistence that philosophy must be grounded in careful observation of the natural world. Tragically, both of Aristotle's parents died when he was still a child, leaving him in the care of a guardian named Proxenus of Atarneus. Proxenus ensured that Aristotle received an excellent education, nurturing the young boy's obvious intellectual gifts. Even in his youth, Aristotle demonstrated an insatiable curiosity about the world around him, constantly questioning, observing, and seeking to understand the underlying principles governing nature and human society. The Academy years. Student of Plato. At the age of 17, Aristotle journeyed to Athens, the intellectual heart of the Greek world, to study at Plato's Academy. This institution, founded by the great philosopher Plato himself around 387 BCE, was the world's first institution of higher learning, a revolutionary concept that brought together the brightest minds to pursue knowledge for its own sake. For 20 years, Aristotle remained at the Academy, first as a student and later as a teacher, immersing himself in the philosophical traditions that would form the foundation of his own thinking. The relationship between Aristotle and Plato represents one of history's most fascinating intellectual partnerships. Plato, who had been a student of Socrates, believed in a realm of perfect, eternal forms or ideas that existed beyond our physical world. According to Plato, the chair you sit on is merely an imperfect copy of the perfect form of chairness that exists in this transcendent realm. Our physical world was, to Plato, like shadows on a cave wall, mere reflections of true reality. True knowledge, therefore, came not from studying the imperfect physical world, but from philosophical contemplation of these eternal forms. Aristotle, however, would come to reject this fundamental premise of his teacher's philosophy. While he deeply respected Plato, referring to him as the man whom it is blasphemy and base men even to praise, Aristotle couldn't accept the idea that true reality existed somewhere beyond the physical world we inhabit. Plato is dear to me, he famously noted, but dearer still is truth. This was a rebellion for rebellion's sake or the arrogance of a student dismissing his master. Rather, Aristotle's empirical mindset, his need to observe and categorize the actual world around him, led him to develop an entirely different philosophical framework. Where Plato saw the physical world as inferior and sought truth through pure reason, Aristotle saw nature itself as worthy of study and sought truth through observation combined with reason. This disagreement would echo through the centuries, creating two broad traditions in Western philosophy: the idealist tradition emphasizing mind in abstract forms, and the empiricist tradition emphasizing observation and experience. In many ways, the history of Western philosophy can be viewed as a conversation between these two approaches, both of which originated in ancient Athens. The Wandering Scholar. When Plato died in 347 BCE, Aristotle left Athens. Whether he departed because he was passed over for leadership of the Academy in favor of Plato's nephew, Speusippus, or for political reasons related to rising anti-Macedonian sentiment, or simply because he felt it was time to move on, remains a matter of historical debate. What is certain is that he spent the next 12 years traveling, observing, and developing his ideas, years that would prove crucial to his intellectual development. He journeyed first to Assos in Asia Minor, where his friend Hermias ruled. There he established a small philosophical circle and continued his research. It was in Assos and later on the nearby island of Lesbos that Aristotle conducted extensive biological research, meticulously studying marine life and developing taxonomies that would remain influential until the modern era. He waded into lagoons and tide pools, examining octopuses, cuttlefish, sea urchins, and hundreds of other species. He dissected specimens, observed their behaviors, recorded their anatomical structures, and began developing a comprehensive system for classifying all living things. This hands-on research was revolutionary for its time. While other Greek philosophers theorized about nature from their armchairs, Aristotle got his hands dirty, literally. He understood that to truly know something, you must observe it carefully, test your ideas against reality, and revise your theories based on evidence. This approach made him the first true scientist in the Western tradition. During this period, Aristotle married Pythias, the adopted daughter of his friend Hermias. Though she died young, by all accounts their marriage was happy and intellectually collaborative. They had a daughter, also named Pythias, whom Aristotle cherished. After his first wife's death, Aristotle entered into a relationship with her Pillis, who bore him a son, Nicomachus. Aristotle would later write touchingly about friendship and love in his ethical works, perhaps drawing from his own experiences of loss, companionship, and family life. His ethical writings show a deep understanding of human relationships and emotions that could only come from someone who had lived fully and loved deeply. Tutor to Alexander. In 343 BCE, King Philip II of Macedon summoned Aristotle to the Macedonian court to serve as tutor to his 13-year-old son, Alexander. This young prince would, of course, become Alexander the Great, one of history's most successful military commanders who would conquer much of the known world, from Greece to Egypt to India. For 3 years, Aristotle educated Alexander in philosophy, politics, ethics, and literature. He instilled in his student a deep love of Homer's Iliad, and Alexander reportedly carried a copy of the epic, annotated by Aristotle himself, throughout his campaigns. The young prince kept it in a precious casket alongside his dagger, considering his most valuable possession. Aristotle also taught Alexander about biology and natural history, which may have inspired Alexander to send back specimens from his later conquests to fuel his former teacher's research. The extent of Aristotle's influence on Alexander's later actions is debated by historians. Did the philosopher's teachings on governance and ethics shape how Alexander ruled his vast empire? Alexander did show remarkable cultural curiosity, adopting Persian customs and attempting to blend Greek and Persian cultures in his administration. Did Aristotle's ideas about the superiority of Greek culture contribute to Alexander's mission to spread Hellenistic civilization? Or did Alexander's pragmatic approach to ruling diverse peoples represent a rejection of some of Aristotle's more ethnocentric views? These questions remain subjects of scholarly discussion. What is clear is that Alexander's conquest later facilitated the spread of Greek philosophy, including Aristotle's works, throughout the Mediterranean and Near East, creating the Hellenistic culture that would dominate the region for centuries. The Library of Alexandria, one of the ancient world's greatest centers of learning, was established in the wake of Alexander's conquest and housed many of Aristotle's works. In this way, the military achievements of the student created conditions that preserved and disseminated the intellectual achievements of the teacher. The Lyceum, Aristotle's own school. In 335 BCE, Aristotle returned to Athens and founded his own school, the Lyceum, named after the grove of Apollo Lyceus where it was located. Unlike Plato's Academy, which focused on mathematics and abstract philosophy, the Lyceum became a center for empirical research and practical knowledge across all domains of inquiry. Aristotle and his students would walk through the school's covered walkways, peripatos, while discussing philosophy, earning them the name Peripatetics, the walking philosophers. The Lyceum was revolutionary in its organization and ambitions. Aristotle established what may have been the world's first research library, collecting hundreds of manuscripts, maps, and botanical and zoological specimens. He organized systematic research programs in biology, physics, politics, ethics, and every other field of knowledge. His students traveled widely throughout the Greek world, collecting specimens, data, and information about different political systems. They gathered constitutions from 158 different city-states, studied animal life from various regions, and compiled information on everything from music theory to the history of science itself. This was philosophy as science, knowledge built through careful observation and logical reasoning from evidence. The Lyceum functioned much like a modern research university, with different scholars specializing in different areas while collaborating and sharing their findings. Morning sessions were devoted to advanced topics for serious students, while afternoons featured more accessible lectures open to the general public. This commitment to both advancing knowledge and sharing it with broader audiences reflected Aristotle's belief that understanding should serve both theoretical and practical purposes. It was during this extraordinarily productive period, his second Athenian sojourn from 335 to 323 BC, that Aristotle produced most of his surviving works. Unlike Plato's polished dialogues written for public consumption, Aristotle's extant writings appear to be lecture notes and research documents, dense and technical, meant for use within the school. This explains their sometimes challenging style, the sudden transitions, the abbreviated arguments, the references to discussions we can no longer access. But it also gives us direct access to his teaching methods and thought processes, allowing us to witness a brilliant mind at work. The system builder. Aristotle's philosophy. Aristotle's intellectual achievement was nothing short of comprehensive. He sought to understand and systematize all knowledge, dividing into theoretical sciences, which seek knowledge for its own sake, practical sciences, which guide action, and productive sciences, which create things. He came remarkably close to succeeding in mastering them all. His works covered logic, physics, biology, ethics, politics, rhetoric, poetics, metaphysics, and numerous other fields. In logic, Aristotle essentially invented the discipline. He developed the syllogism, a form of reasoning that remained the foundation of logical thinking until the 19th century. His observation that all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore, Socrates is mortal, established rules of inference that shaped rational thought for 2,000 years. He identified valid and invalid forms of argument, developed the concepts of categorical propositions and logical operators, and created a framework for analyzing reasoning that students still learn today. His logical works, collected as the organon, the instrument of thought, provided Western civilization with its primary tools for rigorous thinking. In biology, Aristotle was perhaps the first true scientist. He dissected animals, observed their behaviors in their natural habitats, and classified hundreds of species. His system of classification, organizing life forms from simple to complex based on their characteristics, anticipated modern taxonomy. He correctly identified that whales and dolphins were mammals, not fish, a fact that wouldn't be widely accepted again until the 18th century, when scientists finally caught up with observations Aristotle had made over 2 millennia earlier. He studied chick embryos at various stages of development, documenting how the heart forms first and begins beating before other organs develop. He founded comparative anatomy, examining how different animals' parts serve similar functions despite different structures. He even recognized that some traits were inherited from parents, though he lacked the concept of genetics to explain how this occurred. His biological works display astonishing attention to detail and accuracy. Modern scientists studying his descriptions of Mediterranean sea life have verified the accuracy of his observations regarding species that were only rediscovered in the 19th and 20th centuries. His physics, while ultimately superseded by Newtonian mechanics and modern physics, represented a serious and systematic attempt to understand motion, causation, and the nature of matter. He developed the concept of the 4 causes. Material cause, what something is made of; formal cause, what form it takes; efficient cause, what brought it into being; and final cause, what purpose it serves. To understand anything fully, he argued, we must know all 4 causes. A bronze statue's material cause is bronze. Its formal cause is the shape the sculptor created. Its efficient cause is the sculptor's work, and its final cause is to honor God or commemorate a person. His emphasis on final causes, purposes or goals, let him see nature as purposeful, Everything has a telos, an end or purpose toward which it naturally develops. An acorn's purpose is to become an oak tree. Eyes exist for seeing. Humans exist to exercise reason and achieve eudaimonia. This teleological view of nature dominated Western science for centuries and still influences how we think and speak about living things, even though modern science has largely abandoned it in favor of mechanistic explanations. Ethics and politics. The Good Life. Aristotle's ethical philosophy centers on a deceptively simple question: what is the good life for human beings? His answer, developed in the Nicomachean Ethics, possibly named after his son or father, both called Nicomachus, was eudaimonia, often translated as happiness or flourishing, but perhaps better understood as living well and doing well. For Aristotle, virtue was a path to eudaimonia, but virtue wasn't about following rigid rules. Instead, it was about developing good character through habit and practice. His concept of the golden mean suggested that virtue lies between extremes. Courage, for instance, is the mean between cowardice and recklessness. Generosity lies between stinginess and wastefulness. Importantly, Aristotle believed that humans are inherently social and political creatures. We can only achieve eudaimonia within a community. This led him to his political philosophy, developed in his work Politics. He analyzed 158 constitutions of various Greek city-states, studying which forms of government work best. While he recognized monarchy, aristocracy, and constitutional democracy as potentially good forms of government, he favored a mixed constitution that balanced different elements of society. His political views reflected his time. He defended slavery as natural and viewed women as inferior to men in rationality, positions that rightly horrify modern readers and demonstrate the limitations even great thinkers face when they uncritically accept the prejudices of their society. Poetics and rhetoric. The arts of persuasion. Aristotle's Poetics, though incomplete, we possess only the section on tragedy, became the founding text of literary criticism. He analyzed tragedy's elements: plot, character, thought, diction, melody, and spectacle, and argued that tragedy's purpose was catharsis, the purging of emotions through pity and fear. His rhetoric systematically analyzed the art of persuasion, identifying three modes: ethos, credibility of the speaker; pathos, emotional appeal; and logos, logical argument. This framework still guides communication theory today. Final years and legacy. When Alexander the Great died suddenly in 323 BCE, anti-Macedonian sentiment surged in Athens. Aristotle, who had Macedonian connections, faced charges of impiety. Remembering Socrates' fate, he fled Athens, reportedly saying he would not let the city sin twice against philosophy. He died the following year in Chalcis, at the age of 62, from a stomach ailment. Aristotle's influence on subsequent thought cannot be overstated. For over 1,000 years, his works, preserved and transmitted to the Islamic world, and then reintroduced to medieval Europe, formed the foundation of Western education. Medieval scholars like Thomas Aquinas integrated Aristotelian philosophy with Christian theology. The Renaissance saw both continued reverence for and eventual challenges to his authority. The scientific revolution overturned his physics, but his logical methods and empirical approach helped make that revolution possible. Conclusion: the first universal mind. Aristotle represents perhaps the last time one human mind could master virtually all the knowledge of its age. His systematic approach, his insistence on empirical observation, his logical rigor, and his comprehensive vision created frameworks that structured human thought for centuries. While we've moved beyond many of his specific conclusions, we still operate within intellectual traditions he helped establish. He taught us to observe carefully, reason systematically, and seek understanding through both empirical evidence and logical analysis. He showed us that philosophy should engage with the real world, not retreat from it. In an age of increasing specialization, Aristotle reminds us of the value of seeking connections across disciplines, of building comprehensive understanding. From logic to biology, from ethics to politics, from aesthetics to physics, Aristotle's fingerprints remain on our intellectual heritage. He was quite simply one of the founding architects of the Western mind, a student who surpassed his teacher, a scientist before science existed, and a philosopher whose questions we still struggle to answer satisfactorily today.